World of Warcraft is too complicated for new players. I probably 100% will agree. I don't think a lot of people will even try to disagree with this.
See some new faces in the AWC. See out there's almost nobody playing PvP anymore. I'd say there's nobody playing PvP, but yeah, there's not a lot of new people playing World of Warcraft.
True.
I mean, World of Warcraft is not a very accessible game. You know what I mean? Here's the biggest problem with World of Warcraft, okay? Like, kids these days are like mega zoomers. Even I find myself, I'm like this. I just want, like, this is the TikTok age, you know? Like, we want our instant gratification. We don't have to, like, want to do anything. Like, let me give you a for instance, okay? Like,
I don't think it's a problem with Zoomers, honestly. I think the problem with World of Warcraft is you get in, you start playing, and you have literally no idea what you're supposed to do next. Even though you technically have kind of guidelines what you're supposed to do next, I don't know. I kind of feel bad, honestly, joining a raid, even at the lowest difficulty setting, because I don't want to spend half an hour reading abilities, what something does. It kind of puts me really off.
let's do a little thought experiment, okay? Little thought experiment, chat. Okay? Imagine you're a kid and you're looking for a new video game to play.
Man-child,
and you're browsing YouTube and you see two games. The first game you see is World of Warcraft 3v3 Arena. Okay? And
Sad.
you're watching Peekaboo and he's on his sub-rogue and oh my god, he's looking fly. Peekaboo is making plays. He's cheap shot.
Bruh, I have seen that, okay? If you have not played World of Warcraft before, you have no idea what's happening, why it's happening, and what you should be even looking at. It's a complete fiesta. It might as well be just rolling the dice because you have no clue what's happening. Even if you are, by the way, a current player, chances are you have no real idea what's happening in PvP.
This guy, he's gouging this guy, he's blind sapping that guy, he's one-shotting that guy, he's a hero, he's a legend, he's the two-time, gets the dub. And you're thinking, wow, I want to be like Peekaboo when I grow up.
Probably still true, though.
Look and you want to try World of Warcraft. You're like, I want to play 3v3 Arena. That sounds awesome. I want to play Sub-Rogue. So you buy World of Warcraft. You download World of Warcraft. You make your character. And then you're like, wait, what? Can I just play Arena?
Nope.
No.
Also, no, obviously.
You have to level. Okay, well, I guess I'll level. And then you level up. Okay, you level up your rogue so you could be like Peekaboo. Okay, can I play now? No, you can't play now. Now you have to grind honor gear. And on top of grinding honor gear, you also need to start working on your crafted gear because you want to have the right embellishments. Well, what are embellishments?
No idea.
Embellishments are these little additions that you can add to your gear that make you a lot more powerful. And if you don't have them, you're probably screwed. Okay, well, I guess I'll do that too. So what do I need to do? Like my campaign? Yeah, get on the campaign, do it up. All right. Now that you've got your honor gear, you need to start...
Wait, how do you even... Does it tell you you need to do the campaign? I have a feeling you probably never even get the hint that you are supposed to do the campaign for that.
Queuing, and you need to work on your conquest gear. Don't worry. You are way behind on gear, and you're at a big disadvantage, but that's really no problem.
Catch-up mechanics,
wait,
probably?
You're actually really screwed because you don't have any add-ons. Okay, so what you really need to do is you need to go download a program called CurseForge, okay? Now download CurseForge, and you can get these different add-ons, okay? So you're going to need S-Arena.
I had no idea about that. Honestly, the first thing World of Warcraft should do, because no players are just not coming to World of Warcraft. They see this absolute clown fiesta, and most people are thinking, yeah, I'll try for a week. And then they leave because the clown fiesta is a little bit too much. The fact that you need to play World of Warcraft with add-ons, otherwise you pretty much have honestly no sad shot at playing it properly, is already like the super big downfall of the game. World of Warcraft is made by the developers with the idea in mind that you are gonna download add-ons so you actually know what's happening in the game, which is inherently a super huge game flaw.
Arena so you can track all your diminishing returns. You're going to need to set up tell me when so you can see like when your abilities and procs are up to do optimal damage. You know, you're going to need to set up Omni CD so you can see your teammates' abilities. You need to set up Omni Bar so you can track the enemy abilities. And then On top of that, you're gonna need to get details. So whenever you get one shot, you can try to figure out what killed you immediately. Okay, now let me know when you get all of that set up.
Nice.
Okay, great. Now your gear still sucks, so you're gonna have to grind that out for a little bit to be on an even playing field. And I know you're just getting one shot all over the place, but you're gonna figure it out eventually. And that's why you need to download Mez's Weak Aura package, because
Bruh, and when you figure out why you got just one-shotted by something, congratulations, Blizzard is hot-fixing that literally the next day, and now something else is broken and is one-shotting you, and you have no idea why it's one-shotting you. And the cycle repeats itself at that point.
even though you're not exactly sure what's going to kill you, when enough horns and whistles go off, you'll be able to figure it out. Okay, and then it's like, what the fuck? Alt F4. Okay, like that's why new people are a little intimidated when it comes to World of Warcraft PvP. Now, imagine that same person tunes into like a Counter-Strike tournament, and he's
super
watching
simple.
Fraud I probably hasn't played in a million years, but it's all I know. Okay, he's watching Fraud from Complexity from 2008, op people. And he's like, oh my god, Fraud's so good at opping, I want to op. And then he downloads the game and starts playing.
Simple.
And that's it. The end. You know, like, it's a pretty jarring comparison. And I feel like it's the biggest obstacle when it comes to World of Warcraft PvP. What's up, Zarya? It's the biggest obstacle when it comes to World of Warcraft is it's very difficult. An MMORPG, and listen, I have to give a lot of credit to the developers, because for us who've been around for a long time, the gearing process has gotten a lot better over time. You know what I mean? Like, I do think there's a lot of positives to this expansion. I feel like they've done a really good job making
Just
it
wait until the next expansion.
Us,
they're gonna re-ruin it.
The fact that it is extremely complicated to play this game. If you're a new player in World of Warcraft, good luck is all I'm saying. Good frickin' luck, you know? So that's why I think a lot of people, as sad as it is to say, and I think it's important to at least admit this, because then maybe in the future we can move forward and make it better for people to, you know, try World of Warcraft and play PvP, because that would be ideal. But I think it's important to admit that it's a lot easier for people to just play other games. You just log on and play.
True.
Like, you just play
That's
League,
big
you
true,
just play
by the
Dota,
way.
you just play Counter-Strike, you just whatever you want. You know
Makes
what I mean?
sense, yeah.
The issue is the elitism. The elitism shouldn't even exist, though. You think when I play Overwatch, I care about elitism? No. I just queue up and I can play. I download Overwatch and I play. There's no elitism. I just get ranked. There's enough people playing where I just...
Admittedly, I have to say this. I'm pretty sure most people in World of Warcraft don't actually play PvP. They just maybe do some PvP dailies or whatever, because it's kind of super simple, and there no one knows what they're doing, and you know, you're even bashing your keyboard, you're still gonna probably get a kill here or there, right? But you know, the game before PvP needs to be fixed, probably, you know, made actually functionable in some situations, even, you know. The idea that you can not get the right weapon, so you can never switch the spec while leveling because you want to switch the spec while leveling, but you don't want to go into the auction house and buy something to level with. Yeah, that kind of needs to be fixed, you know. Things like that prohibit new players so ridiculously much.
And if I suck, I get put into bronze, and if I'm pretty good, then I get put into, you know, gold, and if I'm a little better than good, I get to be diamond. And you know what I mean? I'm just playing against people that are relatively skill level. There's no elitism gatekeeping it. The only reason there's elitism is because I feel like the community is relatively small, so it's hard to actually get into groups. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where I think solo shuffle, this is actually what I believe. I believe, and people are going to hate me for saying this, I believe the future of WoW PvP is solo shuffle. And I think there is a lot of things that need to be done to make it as ideal as possible. But I'm telling you, a solo queue mode...
I don't know what solo shuffle is. I think a lot of people probably have no idea what that even is.
...is the only reason that I feel like World of Warcraft gains popularity in PvP. And I think in Season 1 of Dragonflight, when people played solo...
I think in general, World of Warcraft has problems. And you know what actually is like a super big red flag for World of Warcraft currently? It's the fact that Dragonflight has been critically acclaimed by pretty much everyone to be, at the bare minimum, good enough to play. Okay? If the previous expansions were dog water, absolute doo-doos, and no one wanted to play them because they were like that, Dragonflight is actually good enough to play. And the funny part is, the whole of the internet knows. Everyone knows that Dragonflight is good enough for players to play. It's not actually a bad experience. And yet, people are still choosing to not play World of Warcraft. That is such a huge red flag, honestly.
Shuffle, when it was new, it was exciting, it was fresh, there was lots of people queuing, the queue times weren't too long. People finally got to play the game. There's so many people that want to play PvP, but they just sit in LFG all day long. And then they play one game in LFG.
And then they get kicked?
They get kicked out of the group, and then they're back to LFG.
Nice.
So Solo Shuffle was actually like their godsend, where they could just play. Oh my god, I've got an hour. I'm going to log on. I'm going to play some Solo Shuffle. Great, I'm in this game. I get to play. It's fun. I'm gaining my rating. I'm getting my rewards. This is amazing. And then obviously in Season 2 with like rating...
Nah, I think World of Warcraft will never see any growth as long as the game, especially like the raiding and even dungeons to a certain extent, are built around the idea that you have this macro that tells you that you need to back off the boss because it's going to do some stupid wipe ability in like 5 seconds and you can't be near it. Oh, just make the raids better. If no one can finish your stupid raids because you need an add-on that tells you, oh, you're gonna get wiped by this thing that you can't even predict, just make it better. Okay, it's super simple. Just make it better. Ban all add-ons, no exceptions. Every single add-on is banned, and you start making the game from the point where people don't need like 15 trillion taskbar add-ons.
Ratings being gate kept and stuff like that, I feel like it lost a little bit of popularity, but hopefully it'll pick back up now that they've added some more rating and stuff like that. But yeah, I really feel like a solo queue mode actually is like the future of WoW. I know you guys hate me saying that. Maybe I don't even want to admit it to myself, but unless there's like some better way for people to queue threes, it's always going to be this thing where it's like you have such an extremely difficult time to play unless you already have friends, which lots of people don't, or unless you're already heavily invested in the community, which a lot of people aren't, you know?
Yep, makes sense.
Like, they don't have any... There are people that are even super invested in the community. They can't find anyone to play with. Most of the time, I log on, nobody wants to play. I have a friends list full of, like, gladiators and rank 1s and stuff. Like, 90% of the time, nobody wants to play. So I just sit in LFG, or I sit in Solo Shuffle, you know?
Nice. Nice.
Whereas when
also, I just want to point this out. Look at his look at his not taskbar, but look at his bars. He has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12. I don't know. He has like 30 abilities here or something like that. A new player who looks at a World of Warcraft player and he's like, 30 ability? Yeah, nah, pass. I'm just gonna pass. And the reality is, by the way, this is not a problem, because through the leveling process, you learn every one of these skills, what they do, because they're not all given to you instantaneously. But this is honestly kind of a double-edged sword. It's good for players who understand and like the game and play the game, that there's a bunch of abilities, because that gives you options. If people are given actually options and they understand well enough how to use these options, it feels super rewarding, it feels super good to do it. Because, you know, you did something right, huzzah, nice, 10 out of 10. But a player who hasn't played this game is looking like, oh, look at that, there's 30 things. I need to learn 30 things? That sounds scary.
I want to play Overwatch, I just log on, game. I want to play Dota, log on, game, 2 seconds. So I don't know exactly how we get there, but I feel like it's important, I think, that there is a good solo queue mode, and there's got to be like more convenience. Like I really want more people to play WoW. I do. I love this game. I'm not shit talking. Like, I'm not shit talking. World of Warcraft is literally that. Like, I've dedicated my life to this game in a lot of ways.
True, probably.
So, I love this game. I want nothing but its success.
Okay, currently, let's be real. Our priorities are Diablo 4. Okay, World of Warcraft can die or do whatever after we save Diablo 4.
But I feel like there's some hurdles that need to be jumped over, and I feel like there's got to be like some changes, like some big changes, you know.
Okay.
And I hate add-ons. It's a different conversation, but I hate add-ons. I think that the UI needs to be improved and add-ons need to be pruned from the game.
Big true.
I think if for no other reason than making it more accessible to new players, that is enough for me. But yeah, it's an interesting take. I know a lot of people disagree with me. That's fine. I'm willing to change my mind on what I'm saying as well. Like I'm not totally set in my ideas, but I do feel like I'm on the right track as to why it's hard for people to want to play, you know. There's too many abilities right now too. Legion was the last surge of new players. The game stuck around and grew because it's the most simplistic in recent times. I really do believe that. I'm not gonna lie. This is something we watched yesterday. You guys want to see it?
Okay.
I genuinely believe with all of my heart and soul that damage rotations in this game are way too complicated. Like
that is probably big true for the average player, okay? So I play a rogue. I played assassination rogue, and the combo there is honestly kind of intense. And I'm a bit above the average player when it comes to this because I have always built my own builds and did pretty decent in all of the DPS meters and all of those things. I'm the guy who's gonna figure it out. The last time I looked up a guide for any game to do anything properly was never. I literally don't remember. It's been at least 20 years since I have done it. I have been doing my own stuff for, since I was a kid, essentially. And honestly, doing everything correctly, and I probably, by the way, did not do it correctly. I probably still didn't have the super optimal rotation, but I at least got a rotation on my assassination rogue. No, actually, I didn't play assassination. I don't remember the spec names, but the one that has Shadow Strike did that. Honestly, pretty complicated. The one with the poisons, I honestly didn't do that because that seemed a little bit. I didn't have the gear because I felt like mastery is a little bit too important for that and didn't have it. And then there was the third, ambush, combat, pilferer, whatever that spec is with roll the dice. Yeah, that thing. And that thing was like super awkward to a degree. So yeah, I kind of understand that an average person who is reliant on guides goes in and they feel super bad playing a couple of things because you need a rotation for these things. You need to understand what you are doing and how to do it even at a suboptimal level. Because my level was not perfect, but my level was probably above average when dealing damage and whatnot. Dungeons, I did good DPS. And again, the average person who is used to looking up guides is going to go into the game and they're not going to understand what they are doing. And if they are new to the game, even if they are a person who looks up guides, there's a chance that they're going to think, wait a minute, I'm like level 10. Why should I even look up a guide? It should be easy. And then they do something horrifically wrong, and that horrifically wrongness turns into them not enjoying the game because they're not doing damage, There's a huge difference between defeating a mob while being bad at it, it's suboptimal, and it's a chore, it's a hustle, between actually pressing your buttons right and just evaporating it. And that's the difference between actually doing something right and doing something non-right. So if a person does not know they are doing things right, the game probably feels bad to them. But how do you make a person understand that you aren't doing things right?
They are way too complicated. There's too many modifiers. There's too many cooldowns. There's too many abilities. And a perfect example is an Arcane Mage PvE guide. I'm going to show you this, okay?
Actually, cooldowns are also a big thing. A lot of people don't want to press their cooldown buttons because cooldowns are supposed to be used for bigger things. But in World of Warcraft, currently, if you're not doing a raid, there's no bigger thing to press the cooldown on. And a lot of those cooldowns are inherently actually designed to be passively used in rotations. For example, Shadow Dance. When I was killing basic mobs, I constantly Shadow Danced. I imagine that a beginner player who has never played Rogue will not press Shadow Dance because it's supposed to be a cooldown for a very, very long time, and that will make them, I don't know, 2 times weaker or something like that, I would honestly say. And that is not what you want in your game to happen, because that's gonna drive people away.
This is gonna freaking blow your mind. Okay, we're just gonna watch this for a second. Imagine you're a new player and someone's trying to explain this to you. Okay, you're like, I want to get into raiding. How do I do damage as an arcane mage? Let's watch.
Yo.
Now let's head into this single target rotation. 15 seconds before the pull, you want to be spamming Arcane Explosion to fish for clear casting procs. This part may vary based on your haste levels, but in general, 9 seconds before the pull starts, you want to cast Evocation so you can start stacking Siphon Storm. At around 3 seconds, you want to cast a Rune of Power into an Arcane Blast precast.
Okay, this already makes no sense, because why would you ever want to cast Evo, something that's supposed to give you technically... I haven't played Mage, so, you know, this is from someone who used to play Mage back in Burning Crusade, okay? I can't imagine why you would ever cast Evo before anything. It makes no sense.
Cast and Arcane Orb. The pull has now begun, and we already have 4 Arcane charges, so we're ready to start our Arcane Surge burn. However, this burn will change based on if you have double time warp activated or not. So
what
if
is
you
double
time warp, you want to immediately stack Arcane Harmony to 20, then continue with the burn rotation. If you aren't putting double time warp, then you don't have to worry about Arcane Harmony, and can immediately start with Radiant Spark when the pull begins. After Radiant Spark, we cast 3 Arcane Blasts into Arcane Surge and another Tempest. Now, if time warp is up, you want to cast Arcane Blast and spell Q Arcane Barrage into it. If you're not sure what it means to spell Q, I'll have an explanation of it down in the description. If you're not in time warp, then forget about Arcane Blast, just cast Arcane Barrage, and Touch of the Magi while Barrage is traveling, but right before it lands. The reason that we pop Touch of the Magi while Barrage is traveling is so that we gain about an extra second of Touch of the Magi uptime, while still benefiting from Barrage inside it. Also, Touch of the Magi itself gives us 4 Arcane charges, so right after Touch of the Magi, we want to follow a simple priority list. Nether Precision buffed Arcane Blasts, Clear Casted Arcane Missiles, and regular Arcane Blasts. Now, due to Arcane Bombardment, if your target is under 35% health, you want to Barrage and have it land just before Touch of the Magi ends. Otherwise, use Presence of Mind to fit one last Arcane Blast into Touch. And finally, if you're in Double Bloodlust, you want to cast a Barrage on the last global of your Arcane Surge buff. Otherwise, just follow the priority list as usual, and once your Arcane Surge buff wears off, cast Shifting Power, and that's the end of the Arcane Surge burn. Now, I know this may be a lot to take in all at once, especially since the rotation changes so much based on if Lust is active or if the target's in execute. My best advice would be, take it one step at a time, first learn the rotation with...
The worst part is, I'm not playing a mage, but I actually understand what's happening here, okay? This is all based on different factors, what's actually happening and what buffs are active. Actually, this is kind of simple. But for someone who doesn't understand that, this is super complicated. Leave in the comments how many of you are confused by this and how many of you understand this. How many of you understand this if you are not a mage player and you haven't seen this, you know? This is... I don't even know what this is. I don't know what this is. I don't know what this is. But it kind of makes sense. It's just like, this buff up, aka you want to do X, because X is better than Y. If Z is down, then Y is better than X. Do it a couple of times. That will get you to... Lambda. And because if Lambda is up now, you can do double beta. Makes probably no sense to most, but this is kind of understandable. This is essentially almost the same thing you would do as on the subtitry spec. There we go.
Without Lust or Execute, and then gradually start incorporating the other conditionals. To help you out with this, I created a cheat sheet that you can find in the description of this video, and it'll have everything you need to know about the rotation, so you can have that pulled up on the side while practicing.
Bro, like, come on, man. Like, come on, bro. That is too much, man.
Yeah, this is gonna drive new... people are gonna look at this and like, yeah, I'm just gonna make a hunter and auto attack for the rest of my life. Yeah, that seems like a good idea. Double damage because I have a pet that... Do you even have a pet if you're not Beast Mastery nowadays? I don't know.
Like, it's too much. I get it. People, you want, like... You want the rotations to be interesting enough where you're not just playing classic spamming Frostbolt.
Yes.
I totally understand that.
By the way, the saddest part is I actually think they did a good job at it. I do think if you're playing sub-rogue optimally, or even semi-optimally, you're probably having a good time yeeting and deleting enemies off the screen left, right, and center and being very fast, very proactive and whatnot. But if you're not, well, you know, sucks. The game sucks.
And maybe you don't even want the rotation as simple as, like, Wrath of the Lich King, where, like, you're spamming Arcane Blast, you have charges, you buff up, like, your abilities are getting buffed by your charges, and then you you know, use your barrage to dump your charges and reset. And if you happen to get a proc, you use it. Like, I feel like there's enough complexity there. So it's still fun.
Yeah,
but like,
that's true.
Like Legion was a good example too of like the rotations weren't too ridiculous, but now it's like it's crazy, bro.
Didn't play
it's crazy. So yeah. Anyways, that's what I think. I think there's like some challenges that face World of Warcraft, and like I said, I love this game, but the rotations for some things are a bit.
The true question is, if that's the optimal rotation, how good is the semi-optimal rotation? Is a player gonna play the semi-optimal rotation, you know, barely dingusing it up? And is he gonna have a good time? Are things gonna die good enough? Are the damage numbers gonna be pretty enough to actually keep people engaged? That is the question.
Convoluted? Yeah, 100%. Legion had so much choice just because everything did stuff. Like half your buttons don't.
I'd say rotations for some things are a bit convoluted.
A little bit, yeah. I'm not even joking. You need like a 4-year college degree to be able to DPS as Arcane. You need literally like a 4-year college degree to DPS as an Arcane mage in PvE. It's way too crazy. Shadow Priest is just as complicated, but these two specs are exceptions. I mean, I was looking at let me see if I can find it. I made a list. Of Frost Mage abilities. These are just attacks. This is look at this, okay?
Show it.
This is Frost Mage after the rework. Okay? I'm gonna show you guys this. As a Frost Mage after the rework, these are your attack buttons. These are all things you need to have keybind to do damage. You need to have Frostbolt, Ice Lance, Flurry, Frozen Orb, Blizzard, Cone of Cold, Frost Nova, Fire Blast, Arcane Explosion, Blast Wave.
The idea that you like, you know, this seems just wrong to me. The idea that Fire Blast fits in that rotation better than an Ice Bolt, I think is... if you're raiding, for example, I think that's just a design problem if Fire Blast is supposed to be, like, optimal damage. Because, you know, it's supposed to be a finisher type of move, you know?
Wave. Ray of Frost, Glacial, Ice Nova, Comet Storm. Ebon Bolt actually got pruned. They literally pruned it. So Ebon Bolt did get pruned. But then for your Water Elemental alone, you need Water Jet Keybind, you need Pet Attack Keybind, you need Pet Freeze Keybind, and then if you happen to PvP, you also need to use Ring of Fire, and you also need to use Frost Bomb. And these are just attacks. It's a lot. Now, I've heard people of the opinion that there are people that have the opinion that it's better to have more attacks, which means more options, which means higher skill cap.
Yes, I am one of those people, but there is a limit, okay? If there are... You know, I think what's the perfect, actually, spot to be in? It's like, you have, like, 5 or 6 attacks, and depending on the situation, there's always a better choice of which, what to do and how to do it, you know? You don't need 20 attacks. At that point, it's just a jumbled mess. But, you know, like, 5 attacks, I think every normal person can actually deal with that, right? I think that's enough for the average person to deal with. And, like, you know, maybe a 6th and 7th attack, but they are super, like, okay, this is once in a blue moon actually useful, you know? That type of situation. The more options, the better. But, you know, there is a limit. Because no one's going to enjoy having 200 options. Everyone's going to enjoy having 10 options.
Like, I've had that conversation with people. But it's a bit much. I think compared to, like, this is Legion. So on Legion, you had spammable Arcane Blast, Explosion, and Barrage. When you got procs, you used missiles. You had Arcane Orb as a short CD. You had Mark of Alaneth and Arcane Power and Palm as your long CDs. You had 4...
Yeah, this is pretty good. I think fishing for procs is kind of fun most of the time.
4 defensives: Temp Shield, Priz Cloak, Ice Block, Greater Invis. Your utilities were Mass Invis, Shimmer Displacement, Nova Slow, Spell Steal. And it was the most fun spec ever. This is literally one of the most fun specs I've ever played in my entire life.
Yeah, you see? This is the sweet spot. Like, what is this? Like, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Six things that you do. Defensive... By the way, I'm not counting defensive options for this. Yeah, this on paper just seems like fun to me, you know? You have enough options to feel rewarded for doing it correctly, but there are not so many options that I need to go study astrophysics and do a blood sacrifice every time I play my spec.
League of Legends has like, well, that's what Zico says. Like, he's like, why is League of Legends so fun to play? Like, why are MOBAs so fun to play? You have 4, 5, 6 buttons. Maybe and then you add like flash or whatever. You have like 7 buttons.
Yeah.
But every button does something.
Yep.
Meaningful.
True.
Every button you press feels like it actually matters.
Big
But
true.
there's been plenty of times, Axton, where, you know, those little buttons. Oh, listen, I understand, man. Like, yeah, I get it. World of Warcraft is never going to be a game that has 5 buttons, but I feel like you could have like 20. You know, you could have like 20 buttons, and that's fine. 20 is kind of a lot for casual gamers. Yeah, even 20 is fucking crazy, but it's better than 40. The ability prune after WAD prune disliked. Well, it's because they pruned like iconic, really fun abilities like grounding totem. They weren't. It's not like they pruned like really crazy important abilities. The biggest reason I can't play retail right now is the complex damage rotations. Complex damage rotations are not what makes combat fun for me. It's not what makes combat fun for a lot of people, man. Like, it should not be. I'm telling you, even if you want to have like a bunch of like utility spells that are interesting, I'm down for that. But I swear the way you deal damage in this game is way too complicated. I really believe that. I think most specs, their damage rotation is way too convoluted. There's way too many buttons that don't really do that much, but you're still forced to press. Like, how many spells do you think should be in a damage rotation? Like 5 single target, like 2 or 3 AoE or something like that.
Yeah,
a couple cooldowns.
Seems reasonable.
CBC, just pressing Ice Lance and Frostbolt. Yeah, you're playing Arcane by choice, but.
By the way, it's kind of true. Even 1-button rotations are pretty fun if you are at the top of the meters and you like that. Then 1-button rotations, aka Frostmage from Classic, is fun. Yeah, it's true. It is fun. If you like the meters, if you play for the damage meters, for example, you're okay with a 1-button rotation.
But you don't like complex damage rotations? Well, believe it or not, Arcane's damage rotation is significantly less complicated in PvP. It's still complicated. Like, the concepts are complicated, but the actual buttons you press are way less complicated. The complexity of the game is what is killing its popularity. Making it easier to play would pull in more people, but it would make it less appealing for people that can play for hours on end every day. I don't think that's true, though.
WC predictions for the weekend?
I think the people who are playing countless hours a day, that at this moment are gonna do whatever Blizzard does. Okay, it doesn't matter. These opinions. If you are constantly playing World of Warcraft 24/7, your opinion doesn't matter. Blizzard can literally just revamp the game into a My Little Pony experience, and you're still gonna play it. So there's no need to worry about the old timers. Because they're not going anywhere no matter what happens.
I don't think that's true. In BFA, they tried to make it easier to play, and it had the opposite effect. I feel like Legion was pretty, I feel like Legion had pretty clean rotations. I kind of agree with Knight. Like, I feel like all the specs that I played in Legion were, like, they were good. How do we get more people to play baseball? Let's make everyone use T-bars. We actually had, this is kind of like a repeat of a conversation we were having earlier. But I think the biggest problem is it just takes a really long time to get into WoW. Like, the major challenges WoW has is, like, if somebody watches WoW and then wants to play it, going from watching it to playing what you're seeing is months of work. Months and months and months and months and months of work.
Too much dedication.
And then also, even if you do all the work, like, another challenge with WoW, and, like, I keep feeling like I need to say this because, like I said, I love this game, dedicated my life to this game. Favorite game I've ever played in my whole life. Okay, so let's just get that out of the way. Even if you do everything, so here's another problem with WoW is even if you do everything, let's say you actually buy the game, you level up your character, you farm full honor gear and full conquest gear, you download all the add-ons you need, you set up all the add-ons you need, everything is great. You farmed everything. You spent weeks and weeks and weeks, months and months and months.
So he gets into arena, and the video ends.
Finally got everything.
Nice.
Most of the time, you're just gonna log in and not have anyone to play threes with, so you can't play.
True. And I think that's the end music. Yep, well, that was been Rookie. Good times, good times. Anyway, this is Quizzer Said. Drop your opinion down below and have a nice day. Bye-bye.